Hi, everybody.
Good evening. We have Victor Botaro back again by popular demand. Right? You got colleagues and everybody else demanding.
Yeah, they like watching the videos.
Yeah.
They say that they're quite
They
informative.
bust your chops a little bit. They say, hey,
why
Vic,
not?
why not be on camera and maybe they'll post a comment and try to get you to move a little bit.
Sure.
We have Terry here. She's working the back channel. She's the back channel. She's working. She's gonna be posting it on the other Facebook page.
Yeah, back channeling is a whole different thing.
Yeah, that's we'll leave that for personality types.
Yeah.
but not technical. Anyway, everybody sees that.
So it's a good Wednesday today.
Everybody sees that the weather's kind of crappy.
But I want to say this: I'm looking at the crypto markets as we speak, and I'm looking at it's looking very bullish.
Yes. So this is one of the things why we're talking about.
And you know what? I think it. This is my opinion. I think it correlates with the housing market. Because when I see Bitcoin and crypto move up and be bullish,
it's a good sign.
It's a good sign. It means maybe people have a lot of crypto, but they're optimistic, and I see a lot of activity in the market. So
there's some positive things going on. I'll touch on some basic things like some of the correlations between what you just said.
It's weird. I don't know
what history's proven to say that, one of the things that we also wanted to address is what we call the micro environment in the macro
the economy within the economy.
Right? And this is a big thing that I think when it comes to understanding what people should know when the things are coming up and why we deal with a lot of people trying to time things, and maybe there is a miscalculation here.
This market is totally different from markets in the past. Information.
I'm gonna take my glasses.
It's at a very fast pace now.
They're annoying.
It's readily available with the advent of the internet, and I believe the markets are. We would use the word volatile, but I could see properties within a week or two a shift.
Yes.
Where you would get no activity, and then within a week or two, all of a sudden, showings come up, and you get above asking or asking.
And multiple bid situations, right?
And it's sudden. It's just you can't even time it. It's just like.
So, and this brings up a thing about how technology and how consumer sentiment is actually impacting the real estate market overall. So when we talk about things like the micro environment, is that a lot of people mistime or miscalculate headlines as being a factor in pricing or making a decision on a house purchase because of what they hear on TV.
I want to touch on that a lot of people feel that they see the news, the Fed just raised the interest rates. And other people feel that when the Fed raises the rates that it pertains to mortgage rates, where it's not the case. Mortgage rates are tied to the 10-year treasuries.
Right.
Not so. Look, even though the Fed raised the rates,
right,
they just dropped. We're back in the fives.
Back in the fives, folks. You heard it here first. Back in the fives. Yeah, high fives if you have a good credit score. It's which puts us on par with about 2006. No, 5% is now about the rates were at about 2018. So that was the last time they were around.
At
five, close to 5. But yeah, they're definitely higher than their which goes back, believe it or not, 2000. That's 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's they did touch around there for a period of time, and it's kind of funny. And this is why we're talking about one of the things that I'm sure everybody understands is how much information flows. So when you're looking at the timing the housing market, there are some predictors that we are starting to know. So Vic brought up one of them, which is cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. And for the record, so we kind of, in all disclosure, basically tell you that we do own positions in it.
We do own positions in it, so this is not financial advice.
He may not own Bitcoin, I own a little bit, but but we do, from doing real estate, one of the interesting things is that it does mark a good sense of consumer sentiment. So let that be a factor to you. in the past, we've seen how, and I know, look, there's a lot of like fuzzy types of things. People don't believe in the science of crypto. It's like, oh, this is funny money type of stuff. The interesting thing is that it is very tied to retail sentiment. So retail sentiment is a really key factor in like the mood of the markets.
Sure.
So what happens is that, a lot of times people will look at the Wall Street, the stock charts, and they say, oh, geez, things are starting to improve. Rates are down, where am I? And here's the funny thing. We've recently had people who've been in the selling process or thought about the selling process. And the interesting thing is that if you try to time the market, we've seen houses like within a period of weeks,
sure,
literally get offers when they weren't getting offers previously because the macroeconomic environment and the reporting around it was that things were getting ugly.
We had multiple offers in Manalapan, New Jersey.
New Jersey's still it's darn hot in some places.
Red hot. I mean,
and it's a low inventory situation. So it is the law of supply and demand. So here's the funny thing. So the upticks like this, people will miss. So meaning that when we talk about the micro environment, is that a sudden change in interest rates from week to week. So mortgage applications last week rose to
5%?
Yeah, I mean, so it was like, I think it was, I don't think it was that high, about 7% over month, 25%, I think, from like late November.
Right.
So over a period of time. So the application process is definitely on the move. So here's the funny thing, with inventory being low and everybody kind of falling into the idea, well, interest rates are going to keep going up because that's what they hear in the news. Now people are once again experiencing multiple offer situations and they're bidding up on prices a little bit more than they were just a very few short weeks ago.
Inventory also.
Weeks ago. We're talking in a span of weeks now. We're not talking in a span of days. I mean, that's talking about years or a year or
weeks,
6 months.
days.
We're talking about weeks. So what'll happen is the person that had the opportunity, they didn't get the price they were maybe in the last, from like when, beginning of the summer till now has been almost dead.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it spikes up. Now it can revert back to that, to a more bearish condition. There's no saying. But here's where I think the problem is the timing. When people try to attempt to time things out to work in the favor of valuation, is that usually people do it when the news is too late to do. So what happens is that they get the news late, they wait. So when people get data and statistics and you see it on the news, usually these things are of past principles. So like it's already, the house is already sold.
News, right.
The house is already sold. The market's already moved in that direction. What happens is when it's reported, people think it's the now. When it's actually, really a test of what happened 3 months ago, specifically in real estate. 3, sometimes 2, 3, maybe New Jersey a little bit less because of the timing of how long it takes for a house to close. But I will tell you this, the micro environment in the last week has changed, I think, significantly on the upside. So the upticks are definitely showing up. And then all the people who have been kind of like sitting on the fence and they were like, oh, well, interest rates are going to continue to go up. They're going to go up to 9. These are all based on the fact that, that there's a sentiment of like fear and like uncertainty.
Fudge. Fear, uncertainty, and despair. Yes.
Fear, uncertainty, and despair, or doubt. Right? Isn't it doubt? It's
despair.
Despair?
Fud.
Yeah.
F-U-D, yeah.
So people who are watching those stock portfolios are rather, and I know like we have our wonderful PR person here today. She's anxiously trying to figure out how she's going to bridge her way from her desk to the door. It's okay. We'll let you go. We're not trapping you here just yet. But the big thing is that you should really pay attention to the fact that understanding the microenvironments is something we have taken our time to understand for our clients. So what it is that we can do rapidly is understand how the market dynamics can shift and how we could shift marketing very quickly because we own the platforms we use to adjust to that condition. So, there are ways to do that, and specifically through some of the things we do marketing wise, we'll know that the uptick will drive prices, particularly on how well a property is marketing. We're getting a rain alert. It's time sensitive, just so you know. It's on my phone. Plus they push notifications. But anyway, so it's important to understand the micro environment that's existing. So you shouldn't make decisions on timing. And if you're ready to make that move, you should not be using the...
I got a lot of people that they were talking to me about putting their house on the market.
Yeah.
And they were telling, well, I'm going to wait. The interest rates went up. I wasn't getting any showings. People are not putting bids. That is not the case. I think when I looked at a certain property, it wasn't properly marketed, so it wasn't getting the attention it deserved. In this market, properties are selling.
So I'll ask you the question now, so you can answer this one. So what do you think? What do you think when homeowners put their house on the market and it's not getting moving and all the economic signals are in the right direction?
When they're not, I would troubleshoot it first off and look at the traction. How many views is it getting out there? If I look at let's just say when we do our video tours, we get 10,000 views the first week.
Yeah.
First thing I will do with a property that expired or it's currently on the market, maybe has, I don't know, 300 views in a week.
Right.
It's not getting traction. It's not getting enough views. That means it's not going to get enough showings. It's not going to get enough offers. So that's usually the case, and that comes from the marketing aspect. Then the other thing is the price. Price point. If you're priced too high, that's marketing 101. If it's overpriced, people won't even come in to look at the property. They know what a house is worth. If you have an $800,000 house and you're listed at 1.2 million, people will look at it and they won't even go see it. They know it's overpriced.
I do think it does correlate with the idea too, is that also making that house, there are some properties that are rather unique that may not necessarily get the kind of viewership that I believe is necessary to push the house in a certain direction, but you have to look at that as a factor in pricing. The interesting thing is that we just took an expired listing on 𝐾𝐚𝐜 67 𝐾𝐚𝐜. Wasn't marketed. Let's not get into the specifics, but it was. What
did it take, 2 weeks?
Took 2 weeks
to get an offer.
Took 2 weeks, but it also we were able to raise the price a little bit for them and still get them more. And you did that also too with Rolling Hill Green.
Rolling Hills, I raised the price by 50,000.
And based on the market, so marketing can have an impact on value if you're doing it correctly. So it's important to just make that a note.
With the marketing alone, you're looking at a difference anywhere $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on the table that you're leaving.
Yeah, I do think that's fine.
We've gotten our clients that much more for their property.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, if Joe's happened to watch that, he knows how much effort went into his. That place was like a hotbed of activity, even in a.
We had multiple offers.
You know, the funny thing is, like, and that's what I mean about that particular property. It was so. This is what I mean about creating micro economies within like a very bearish condition. That house happened to get like an offer on almost every showing.
Yes.
About 70% of all the people that walked through the door presented an offer, which is such an anomaly.
Yeah.
It's very rare. Usually it's so much the other direction. It's like everybody like...
You'll get 10 showings, maybe one offer.
Or you get 20 showings and none.
Right.
It was just a strange anomaly. But it went into a lot of details, I think, when it came to the like how that property presented itself.
It was marketed.
Yeah, it was probably one of the better marketed properties that I've seen in a while.
I mean, we have one of the largest regional YouTube channels, I would say.
No, we do.
So, I mean, there were people that were watching.
See, another important point.
They were watching the video.
We have about, I think, Kerry, what was the last count? I don't want to catch you sleep. Just try to get out of here. You can go. You can leave. You could just cross. You could cross the bridge. Make sure you just wave goodbye on the way out, so you can kind of, put yourself there. But we have about just to that channel alone now. We're up around 15,000 or so. Sometimes we're upwards of 20 just on one channel.
Right.
Just on that. Then we have about 150,000 views now across multiple channels in a given month. So it's like insane. So that, yeah, definitely helps.
Oh yeah.
Definitely helps to have a media presence. We're fortunate enough to have that, 150,000, and that's thanks to people like Carrie. You see, she'll pass and wave good night. And actually was on another tour today, and two today, and more coming this week. Another one tomorrow, another one next Tuesday. So it's like we're busy out there, and like congratulations to people like Alana Miller,
She's doing phenomenal.
the girl's hitting it hard. But anyway, she's and the big thing is that they're getting traction on those things. New agent, obviously doing extremely well. We're proud of that. But so when you suggest, and come on, Kerry, let's go. Say good night.
Good night, guys. Bye. Good night.
Take care. So you'll see her in the next video. We'll make sure that we'll highlight that in the coming week. And she does the stats too. I think she'll be doing a stat report coming beginning of February. That's Carrie. She does some of the PR work here on one of our aces, one of our couple of aces that we have working in here. If you had a suggestion for a person that's buying in New Jersey but needs to sell here, what would it be?
Get your house in contract before you even go and look.
Right.
We've been running into that. A lot of people get overly excited, and it's just you're gonna find the house that you'll fall in love with it, but you're still not in contract.
Right.
And you can't even put an offer.
And it's getting back to hard again a little bit, and I think that we're starting to see that maybe things are not quite as bearish as maybe we predicted it might be, or maybe some of them.
People were calling for 8% interest rates, and we're in the 5s. So
yes.
By the end of the year, they were saying, "Oh, it's going to be 8, 9, it's going to be 10."
So, and I did some background on this on why some of that is not happening, and I'll tell you why. Unfortunately, I mean, this is not. It's a good thing in the short term. It's a bad thing in the long term. People, the way the bond markets are moving, the 10-year treasuries are moving. No, she won't hit your car. She's pretty good at this now. Vic is watching to see if his car's gonna get cracked up. We have a small parking lot. But anyway, so the big thing is like, if you are selling, you believe. The other thing is tipping your hand. Don't start going and tipping your hand.
Yeah.
We gotta say that.
Yeah,
you can give us a story time on that.
I mean, basically, you go into an open house and you fall in love with it. And, the agent, they can read your body language and they know you're hot on the property.
Yes.
So it's
make sure you know when you're going into these open houses who's representing what, because it does come down to like, poker face, right?
Poker face. Look, when I
poker.
I love poker. When I work for this, I represent the seller.
Right.
Okay, and you come into my open house, a buyer, whatever the buyer tells me, it's information I could use against them because I'm representing the seller.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they say, "Oh, I love the house," and that's why it's important for them to, hire a buyer's agent.
Right.
And who could represent you. And the buyer's agent will tell you, don't tip your hand, poker face.
Yes, so
Don't
what happens
discuss
is that
anything.
people put their house on the market and subsequently, before it's even in contract, they start going to look. And then what happens is, "Oh, I remember you at the open house," and you're back again, and it's like, yeah, you are. And what you're doing is actually tipping the hand to say, well, this person has a stronger interest, which says, okay, if they like it, they're going to pay a little bit of a premium because they're pushing for it. And I understand, it's the anxiety that drives it. So people are like, they're just so fascinated with the idea that they're going to be homeless. So they push the process along, and it doesn't happen, folks. We've done this enough.
We've done 4-way contingencies.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like, nobody's, have we had anybody left in the street?
Never.
Never.
It's never going to
There's
happen.
it's just.
There's always the attorneys work on, we're not attorneys, but they work on a possession agreement.
There's always
Stay
things.
an extra week, an extra month. There's always a way to work it out.
And I think that's where things are like, basically, you need to kind of focus on is like, don't start going in and tipping your hands on like what you like on, and I know it's the optimum thing to do. Yes, maybe once take a look to kind of get a more basic feel of like maybe a community that you would consider.
Right.
But falling in love with anything is a very, very, very bad miscalculation in real estate. I see it all the time. And I've talked to people who put their house in the market and they said, well, we put the house in the market, we outbid multiple times. You have to come with the expectation there's a process to this.
There are details, I mean, even on the selling side too. I see people when they get a moving truck or a pod and it's parked right on the driveway or where the garage is. You're giving away information to the potential buyer's agent. The buyer's agent, they're very savvy. They see that. They see this person needs to move. They're ready. They're packed up. So you lose some negotiating power. Mm-hmm. So little things like that, they make a big difference.
Lose your negotiating power. It is an important power in that, it's, and we see it on the seller side sometimes. Remember, it's so important to remember that as much as we love to be friendly and, home is like when you're talking from one home to another, it becomes like there was some bonding about the process of saying, oh, I'm going to be moving into your house, you're going to be leaving, and it gets into small talk. That small talk leads to, unfortunately, a lot of things being said.
Speaking of small talk, now with these technology, these Ring door cameras, wait until you get in the car.
Yes.
If you're going to discuss the house, you're outside in the front of the house. Oh, and you're discussing with your wife. Oh my God, I love the furniture. I love the house. I love the fireplace. Or you're, tearing the house apart. You're making fun of it or criticizing it. Don't do it because everyone has a Ring doorbell now, and they can hear everything that you're saying.
Just a point of disclosure. You brought up one of the best topics, and I got to touch on this. We'll do a more in-depth thing on this. For the people that have Ring, I want to make this clear because there's been litigation.
Well, this eavesdrop. It is a.
You're not allowed to. If your house is on the market and you are using Ring, and you are monitoring the conversations of a prospective client,
you cannot do that. That's illegal.
Yes, it's absolutely 100% illegal.
It's called eavesdropping because you're not a party to the conversation.
That's right. And just because you've opened it to the potential of buyers, that you will, and there's a lawsuit, there's a couple of lawsuits pending, I believe it's in Virginia, and I can get more specific on that. This is not small stakes here. I've seen there's a rather cavalier approach to these things and about how they're being used. You are not, if you're talking to someone transactionally, you're trying to eavesdrop on information that's going to give them a favorable or disfavorable advantage based on what you're hearing, which is supposed to be privy conversations.
Correct.
Especially when it deals with finances, you could be on the hook big time if it's found out. The thing is how you find out. I mean, that's another story. Does everybody know? But the fact that it's stored in cloud storage, I mean, if someone wants to make an assumption, it could be subpoenaed. To be honest with you, because your stuff, and this is like one of the interesting things when you use these services, they're stored in cloud servers. Cloud servers, which is so basically the data is retained. So if someone was to say, okay, so-and-so I want to prosecute because I believe that they used information involving the sale of my property, they'll subpoena the video, they'll bring that to court, and if there was things that they felt that you might have compromised their negotiation standpoint on, guess what, folks? You could be on the hook for some serious damages if that's in fact the case. This is a topic we do need to bridge at some point. I think it's like one of those things that have been left off the table.
I mean, I've been
left off the table.
When I show properties to my clients, I always tell them, I make them zip it.
Yes.
I point to the cameras and let's go talk in the car.
From mannerisms to everything else. If that's the case, if you have video cameras operating within the sphere of your home, and it is this is a commercial transaction. I want to make this clear. Like, so it's almost like a commercial business. There has to be, if your business is being monitored and is accessible to the public, you have to disclose the fact you're being recorded.
Yes.
Okay? So, that being said, because your house is technically on the market, it's a commercial exchange that requires...
Right, for commercial purposes.
For commercial purposes, it requires disclosure. So if it says you're not allowed to use eavesdropping in New York State. New York State, you're not allowed to use anything. It doesn't matter what it is. You're not allowed to use.
I used to work for the
voice.
I was doing investigations. I was in a tech unit.
Okay.
So
yes.
I'm familiar with the Title III, all the federal laws of eavesdropping. But New York is a one-party state.
Yes, it is.
So I used to install cameras, surveillance equipment, and all that. So, but now, yeah, again, Ring is just another.
It's a cavalier approach to what it means, though. I think that's where the issue is.
Yeah.
And we completely went off topic, but it's such an important one because I think people make a very, very calculated error unknowingly that it could have substantial costs if the person decides to say, hey, you know what? I think they heard a conversation about where my negotiation position was on my house. And they used that information to squeeze another $20,000 out of me based on information they weren't supposed to know up front. If you're selling your house, folks, those things need to be disclosed. The agent should actually point that out while you're there. Is the house under surveillance at any point internally? Those things, listen, you know. And if you have someone that says, oh yeah, well, don't worry about it. I think you're mistaken and you could be sued for pretty hefty amounts of money. We will have a discussion on that specifically, but I do believe there are legal matters concerning that are actually pending in court now where that was in fact the cause of action for a civil judgment. Plus, there could be other things, discrimination-wise, you know, it could be construed as many different things. Like, folks, it's not something to trifle with, even though you feel like, you know, someone's going to rob your house or something like that. I get that part. Usually the process is pretty well served as far as like who's escorting them around the house, but it's important that using voice specifically is probably even worse than even the video itself. Eavesdropping is serious.
Eavesdropping, yes, it's a federal offense.
Federal offense. There you go. Someone who knows how to do eavesdropping. But anyway, so it's important to know. But back to the subject again is the...
As far as getting money, like we were talking about getting most of the property, another thing that people overlook is the staging. Or if the house is cluttered too. It makes, I would say $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 difference if I've seen homes, it's the same house, when we take a house out, for example, and we make a few changes with the marketing. We bring out the best, show the house in the best light, how we present it to the public.
Right.
That makes a tremendous difference.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same house. We've done case studies.
Yeah.
We have dozens of case studies where the house expired, let's just say, I'll throw a number out there, $850.
Yep.
And then we go and list the house in the 900s, and we wind up selling it for $940. Almost $100,000. It happened. One of them is on in Great Kills, I believe, in the Dent Road area.
Yep.
And it's the same. Nothing changed with the house. It was the same exact house. Just the way that we marketed the house.
So actually, in that particular case, I said the house was on the market for almost 2 years at that time, and everybody missed it.
How long did it take us to?
2 weeks.
So we went from 2 years on the market
to 2 weeks. Because
2 weeks.
Well, that's because it's the eBay style of marketing, which is if I put my house on the market, it goes on Realtor.com, Truly, or Zillow, and that's the way. Just because the house shows up in those sites,
that's a passive approach.
It's a very passive. It's extremely passive, and it's almost an error of. It's becoming a bygone thing. So meaning that it's kind of falling. It's like it's an eBay type system. So
you call it it's a database search. I'm looking for a house between 800, 900 in Great Kills. I punch in the numbers, the parameters, 800, 900. And I'm waiting. That's a database
I
search.
just found something out about that. Those database searches too also offset things that are on the market for more than 15 days. So you could actually, based on the amount of days the house is on the market, you could filter your search out by how long the house is on the market.
Oh wow. Okay.
So people automatically dismiss a house that may be on the market, so they'll make their search 15 days in this community. What was the last 15 days of new listings in this community, completely wiping out any attempt at looking at anything that they believe they saw in the past, which may have changed. It's one of those things when you use database searches, if you don't bring the house out of that database, you're not selling it. It's a problem. It's a problem that's not misunderstood. I just found this out that it's becoming even more frequent now because of the way the environment of real estate's worked in the last couple of years, is that people will narrow their search to days on the market, which is another criteria that you're going to have to get past.
Well, that could cause it could go.
So if you got
term stale, like is that the word
so
that they
basically
use?
what will happen is 20% of the market is not even interested in looking at things on the market more than 15 days. So they basically so they actually have that as a scrubbing criteria for housing.
Interesting.
And it's like, oh, there you go. That's the plummeting value of a house that's not marketed correctly. That's what it looks like. But anyway, it's something you have to pay attention to. So make sure when you pay attention to that one feature, if your house is not being put on, there's Mr. Patrick.
Yeah,
That's going to be an interesting call.
it's a very good call.
But so the big thing is of course, look at all these factors when you're going to put your house on the market, the microeconomic environment. Good agents, of course, like him, know exactly where the house should be positioned when you actually get there. So it's important to pay attention, listen diligently, and make sure that, hey, this is what I need to be. Take the advice of the people that know best.
Well, we did very well with property on Bancroft in Newark.
Bancroft.
Okay, so there was a house down the block, was sitting there for several months, and our clients were concerned, oh my God, the house is, I said, don't worry about the house on the block. Forget about the house on the block. We don't worry about your house.
Mm-hmm.
We got full asking price. We got that sold in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Again, but
And
the key thing is that the clients listen to Anthony. You told him, stage it a certain way.
Yes.
And
The 3
Declutter
things in 3 minutes.
and they painted it and it looked great. It really
I went over
showed.
the 3 things in 3 minutes with them.
And they actually, one of the few clients that actually listened to us, and it actually paid off.
Yeah.
They listened to the T. They followed direction and instructions and guidance,
And it worked out perfectly.
and they got full asking price.
That was almost a perfect.
All they had to do was
Yeah.
listen to the advice. That's what they hire us for.
And they got
And
this price.
They got the full asking price.
Yeah. And I don't like again.
While
thing
the other
is-
house was still, and the other house is still sitting on the market by that way down the.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So-
It's amazing to say that. Just a little bit of difference in certain things can make a whole lot of difference in how much.
I always use the term: the devil is in the details.
Yes.
That's
And Lord knows that devil hides under those details quite a bit. A lot of hay, a lot of rocks.
Oops.
Oh God, it's a long day. Anyway, so obviously you have questions. We're actually going to be heading out to across the river.
Across the bridge, we're going to Jersey.
Yeah, another evening of longness. But and we'll obviously do this again, and hopefully if you have questions, be sure to place them in the little comment section below.
Yeah, you actually look at the comments. If you have any questions, I'll gladly answer them. You can send me a private message if you want via Facebook. You can call me via phone.
It's right there.
If you want to meet me in person, you get me a cup of coffee, and I'll gladly sit down with you and go.
He'll
over
actually
things.
get you a cup of coffee.
Well, yeah, I'll buy the coffee. Sure, why not?
that'll be the price of admission.
There you go.
But anyway, like I said, these are a couple of tips, and I think you provide some valuable insights as usual. And check out those Zillow reviews that you just got. You have quite a few now.
Yeah, I want to thank all my past clients are my best advocates. I want to thank them all for leaving me the stellar reviews on Zillow, and I'm very grateful
On Zillow.
and humbled.
Our favorite friend. But anyway, it's a pleasure to be here again. Because again, I think we got to shoot out there. I don't want to get there too
We'll
late.
make it on time.
Yeah, you got time.
7 o'clock. We got to be there.
Oh, okay. So, is there any last words? Did you watch football? No, right?
No, not a big football.
He's not a big football fan.
I'm from Argentina, so I like.
He likes soccer.
My soccer, and they won the World Cup, so I'm very happy.
But I'm going to give you my predictions. So here's my predictions.
Who's going to win
You're
the
gonna go-
Super Bowl?
Well, let's go. This week is the AFC and NFC Championship, and I'm going Bengals, and I'm
Cincinnati,
going Eagles. Eagles, Bengals.
not the Chiefs.
Because I just can't stand the 49ers. For anybody, for full disclosure, I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan. Why? It's a long story. But they're on the other coast, but something I grew up with, and I just can't. Every opportunity I want to see the
You wanna bash them?
49ers lose
Okay.
and not make it, this is the time.
Awesome.
Because I just don't want to see them in the Super Bowl. But my pick overall is the friendly city of Cincinnati wins its first ever Super Bowl this coming February. So I think that's in the cards, and good for them. There's a city that's I don't know much about Cincinnati. I just don't know why they would move there.
This is Ohio.
It's like
If you're into farming,
I don't know. I guess so. But it's Cincinnati. Jeez, what the heck are you doing in Cincinnati? There's not even a beach.
never been there, so. No.
There's no reason to be.
Oh boy.
There's probably a couple. I hope no Cincinnati realtors.
Yeah.
They call Cleveland the state by the lake.
Oh
But
my gosh.
at least they have a lake. I don't even know it's Cincinnati. Cincinnati has rivers. So I guess, if you jump into the river, I think it starts in Cleveland. And
Does it? Okay.
Is it? I don't know. We're just bam.
We're bashing
We're just
Cincinnati.
going nuts here. We got an extra couple of minutes to burn. But anyway, so and for all those Cincinnati realtors, I'm sorry guys to call me New York biased, or maybe not even. What do you think? Are you New York biased?
I'm definitely New York biased. I'm Staten Island biased. That's my favorite borough, actually.
Yeah.
I'm pro Staten Island.
We're considered New Jersey actually. Most of
I can throw a rock and hit New Jersey. I'm 5 minutes away from the outer
yeah.
bridge, so.
So it's funny. They want to exile us to New Jersey.
We tried to secede in '95, I believe, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Well, there's pros and cons to that too. But anyway, like I said, leave comments below. I hope you find at least this part of it a little bit more amusing. And we'll see you maybe in a couple of weeks, a week, when we get a free moment in the interim of all the crazy business we're doing right now. We'll get to it. We'll get to you. All right. So you have a wonderful, cold, rainy Wednesday evening. Try to make the most of it. I'm Anthony 𝐞𝐿, broker owner, and this is
Victor Butano.
and we hope to see you soon. Parting words? Good night.
Good night and good luck.
Good night and good luck. Thanks, guys.